welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the dark waters of deception, the subtle and not so subtle lies that shape the way we see the world. These deceptions have been crafted over centuries, ingrained into our societies, and they influence everything from our daily decisions to our deepest beliefs. In this video, we'll uncover 10 sinister deceptions that control humanity's thinking. These are not just conspiracies or abstract ideas, they are real, tangible forces that manipulate our minds, influence our decisions, and ultimately dictate our lives. Stay with us till the end. What you're about to discover might just change the way you see everything. Are you ready to confront the truth? Every day, we're presented with countless choices, from the products we buy, the media we consume, to the candidates we vote for. On the surface, it seems like we have an abundance of options, but how much of that choice is real? The illusion of choice is one of the most pervasive deceptions in modern society. Let's start with consumer goods. Walk into any supermarket and you'll find aisles filled with different brands of cereal, soft drinks, and household items. But what if I told you that many of these brands are owned by the same few multinational corporations? Companies like Nestle, Procter & Gamble, and Unilever control hundreds of seemingly independent brands. This concentration of ownership reduces competition and limits our true choices. Yet, we're led to believe we're making independent decisions. The political arena is no different. We're often given the illusion of a choice between two or more political parties. But behind the scenes, these parties are often influenced by the same corporate donors, lobbyists, and special interest groups. Whether it's healthcare, education, or foreign policy, the differences between major political parties are often superficial. The real power lies with those who control the flow of money and information, ensuring that no matter who you vote for, the status quo remains intact. This deception extends beyond just consumer goods and politics. Even in areas like entertainment, where we choose what to watch, listen to, or read, a small group of media conglomerates control the vast majority of content. From movies and music to books and news, our choices are often limited to what these companies decide to produce and distribute. So, next time you're faced with a decision, ask yourself, is this really my choice, or am I simply choosing from a pre-selected menu created by those in power? The media is often referred to as the fourth estate, a pillar of democracy that keeps the powerful in check. But what happens when the media itself is controlled? In the age of 24/7 news cycles and social media, information is more accessible than ever, but it's also more manipulable. Let's consider the role of mainstream media. Major news networks are owned by a handful of large corporations. These corporations have their own interests: political, financial, and ideological. As a result, the news we consume is filtered through layers of bias. Journalists may choose to emphasize certain stories while downplaying others, all to shape public perception in a specific direction. Whether it's through omission, selective reporting, or the framing of issues, media outlets can lead us to believe a distorted version of reality. Take the coverage of wars and conflicts, for example. Governments often work closely with media outlets to control the narrative. During wartime, information is carefully curated to maintain public support. Images of enemy atrocities are highlighted, while the suffering caused by our own actions is minimized or ignored. The goal is to keep us in a state of fear and to justify actions that we might otherwise oppose. But it's not just traditional media that's at play here. Social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram have become the new battlegrounds for information. Algorithms determine what content we see, often prioritizing sensationalism and controversy over truth. This creates echo chambers, where we're only exposed to information that reinforces our existing beliefs. As a result, we become more polarized, more divided, and more easily manipulated. So, the next time you read a headline or see a trending topic, remember that what you're seeing is a carefully crafted version of reality. Question the sources, seek out alternative perspectives, and always be aware of who might be controlling the narrative. We're taught to believe that education is the key to success, that it's the great equalizer providing everyone with an opportunity to better themselves. But who decides what we learn? The education system as it exists today often serves to indoctrinate rather than educate. From the earliest days of schooling, we're taught to memorize facts, follow rules, and regurgitate information on command. But how much of that information is relevant to our lives? How much of it encourages critical thinking, creativity, or questioning of the status quo? The truth is, the education system is designed to create obedient workers rather than independent thinkers. Consider the history we're taught. In many countries, the curriculum is heavily influenced by nationalistic agendas. We learn about the great achievements of our country, but the darker chapters, colonialism, slavery, imperialism, are often glossed over or justified. This selective history shapes our understanding of the world and keeps us loyal to the state. The influence of corporations and governments on education is also profound. In many cases, the curriculum is shaped by the needs of the economy rather than the needs of the individual. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, subjects are emphasized because they produce workers who can contribute to the economy, while the arts and humanities are often devalued. Yet it's through the arts and humanities that we explore what it means to be human, question our society, and imagine alternative futures. Higher education is no exception. Universities are increasingly run like businesses, focused on profits and rankings rather than on providing a well-rounded education. Students are treated as customers, and education as a product. This commodification of education leads to a system where critical thinking is discouraged, and conformity is rewarded. So, what aren't we being taught? Why aren't we encouraged to question authority, to think for ourselves, and to challenge the systems that govern our lives? The education system is supposed to prepare us for life, but whose version of life are we being prepared for? From a young age, we're taught to conform to societal norms. We learn how to behave, what to wear, and what to value. But what is normal? The concept of normalcy is a powerful tool of control that dictates our behavior and shapes our worldview. Think about the normal life path. Go to school, get a job, get married, buy a house, have children, and retire. This is the script that most people are expected to follow. But who wrote this script? And who benefits from it? The idea of a normal life path is deeply ingrained in our culture, but it's also a social construct designed to maintain the status quo. Consider how society views those who deviate from this norm. People who choose not to have children, who pursue unconventional careers, or who live alternative lifestyles are often met with suspicion, criticism, or even hostility. This pressure to conform keeps us in line, discouraging us from exploring different ways of living and thinking. The concept of normalcy also extends to our beliefs and values. We're taught to accept certain ideas as normal. Ideas about success, beauty, morality, and even reality itself. But what if these ideas are just constructs designed to keep us compliant? For example, the idea that success is defined by wealth and status keeps us trapped in a cycle of consumerism and competition, while the notion that beauty is a certain body type or skin color perpetuates insecurity and inequality. Even our understanding of reality is shaped by what society considers normal. The dominant narrative in most cultures is one of materialism and individualism. We're taught to see ourselves as separate from each other and the natural world, to value material wealth over spiritual or communal well-being. But what if this perspective is limited or even harmful? Indigenous cultures, for example, often view reality as interconnected and emphasize community and balance with nature, perspectives that challenge the normal Western worldview. The truth is, normal is a construct created to maintain the status quo and discourage us from questioning the systems that govern our lives. By conforming to this idea of normalcy, we limit our potential, our creativity, and our freedom. So, next time you find yourself trying to fit in, ask yourself, whose idea of normal am I following, and what could I discover if I dared to step outside of it? Money is often described as the root of all evil, but it's also one of the most effective tools of control. We spend our lives working for it, worrying about it, and often sacrificing our happiness for it. But have you ever stopped to think about what money really is and who controls it? Money, in its essence, is a symbol, a representation of value. But over time, it has become much more than that. It has become a means of control. Consider how our modern financial system is structured. Central banks, which are often privately owned, control the supply of money. They decide how much money is in circulation, setting interest rates that influence the cost of borrowing and the value of our savings. Through this control, central banks can influence entire economies, creating booms and busts at will. But it's not just central banks. The global financial system is a web of debt, interest, and inflation, designed to keep us on a perpetual treadmill. We borrow money to buy homes, cars, and education, only to spend decades of our lives paying it back, with interest. This system benefits the wealthy, who can lend money and collect interest, while the rest of us are trapped in a cycle of earning just enough to service our debts. This money trap is exacerbated by the concept of consumerism. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we need to buy more, spend more, and accumulate more to be happy. Advertising, social media, and even our peers pressure us to keep up with the latest trends, to live beyond our means, and to measure our success by our possessions. This keeps us in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, always striving for more, never content with what we have. And who benefits from this? Corporations and the financial elite, who profit from our consumption and debt. The more we spend, the more we borrow, the more they gain. Meanwhile, we're left chasing an illusion of happiness and success that is always just out of reach. But what if we stepped off this treadmill? What if we redefined success not by our bank accounts or material possessions, but by our relationships, our health, and our fulfillment? The money trap is powerful, but it's not unbreakable. By recognizing its hold on us, we can begin to free ourselves from its grip and focus on what truly matters. Fear is one of the most powerful motivators. It's a primal emotion, rooted in our survival instincts. But in modern society, fear is often used as a tool of control. Governments, corporations, and other institutions know that when we're afraid, we're more likely to comply, to surrender our freedoms, and to accept their authority without question. Consider the role of fear in politics. Throughout history, leaders have used fear to rally support and justify their actions. During times of war, fear of the enemy is stoked to garner public approval for military action. During economic crises, fear of poverty and instability is used to justify austerity measures and the bailing out of big banks. In more recent times, fear of terrorism has been used to justify mass surveillance, torture, and endless wars. The media plays a significant role in amplifying these fears. Sensational headlines, dramatic imagery, and constant repetition of worst-case scenarios keep us in a state of anxiety. This makes us more susceptible to accepting extreme measures, whether it's giving up our privacy, accepting cuts to social programs, or even supporting wars in distant lands. But it's not just about external threats. Fear is also used to control us on a personal level. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not fitting in. These fears are cultivated from a young age, shaping our behavior and limiting our potential. We're taught to play it safe, to follow the rules, and to avoid stepping outside our comfort zones. This keeps us compliant, predictable, and easy to control. And yet, so many of these fears are based on illusions. The threats are often exaggerated, if not entirely fabricated. The media and those in power know that a fearful population is a malleable one, easily led and less likely to resist. But what if we chose to confront our fears? What if we questioned the narratives that are being fed to us? By recognizing and challenging these fear-based controls, we can reclaim our power and start making decisions based on hope and possibility, rather than fear. We're often told that resources are scarce, that there's not enough to go around. This myth of scarcity is used to justify inequality, war, and environmental destruction. But is it really true? The world produces enough food to feed everyone, yet millions go hungry. This isn't because of a lack of food, but because of the way food is distributed. In many cases, it's more profitable for companies to destroy surplus food than to give it away. Similarly, we have the technology to provide clean energy for all, yet we continue to rely on fossil fuels. This is because the fossil fuel industry is deeply entrenched and highly profitable for a small number of powerful interests. The myth of scarcity also plays a significant role in economics. We're told that there isn't enough money to go around, that we need to cut public services, reduce social benefits, and accept austerity measures. But at the same time, billions of dollars are spent on military budgets, corporate bailouts, and tax breaks for the wealthy. The truth is, money is a tool that can be created and distributed by governments. The scarcity isn't real. It's a political choice, designed to maintain the wealth and power of the few. This myth also extends to our perception of time and opportunities. We're led to believe that there's only so much time to achieve our goals, only so many opportunities available, and only a select few who can succeed. This creates a mindset of competition and scarcity, where we see others as rivals rather than collaborators. But what if we shifted our perspective? What if we saw abundance instead of scarcity? Abundance of resources, opportunities, and possibilities. The truth is, scarcity is often artificially created to keep us in a state of fear, competition, and submission. By questioning the narratives of scarcity, we can begin to see the abundance that exists in the world and work towards a more equitable and sustainable future. Knowledge is power. This phrase is as true today as it was centuries ago. But what happens when knowledge is controlled? Throughout history, those in power have sought to suppress or manipulate information, understanding that controlling what people know and don't know gives them an enormous advantage. Consider the control of information through censorship. In authoritarian regimes, censorship is blatant. Books are banned, media is controlled, and dissent is silenced. But even in democratic societies, censorship can take more subtle forms. Information that threatens powerful interests is often buried, while disinformation and propaganda are spread to confuse and mislead the public. The internet, while a powerful tool for sharing knowledge, is also a battleground where information is constantly manipulated, filtered, and censored. Education systems, too, play a role in controlling knowledge. The curriculum taught in schools is often shaped by governments and corporations, with the goal of producing a compliant workforce rather than independent thinkers. Certain subjects are emphasized, while others are ignored. Critical thinking is often discouraged in favor of rote memorization. This creates a population that is educated in a narrow sense, but lacks the broader knowledge and skills needed to challenge the status quo. The control of knowledge isn't just about what is taught, but also about what is withheld. There are countless discoveries, technologies, and ideas that have been suppressed because they threaten powerful interests. From alternative energy sources to holistic medical treatments, many potential breakthroughs have been ignored or actively suppressed because they don't align with the profit motives of the current system. But the tide is turning. The internet has made it easier than ever to access information, share ideas, and challenge the official narrative. However, this also means that we must be more vigilant than ever in discerning truth from lies, fact from fiction. The control of knowledge is a powerful tool of deception, but by seeking out diverse sources of information, questioning what we're told, and thinking critically, we can begin to break free from this control and empower ourselves with true knowledge. We're constantly told that the world is progressing, that technology is improving our lives, that economies are growing, that we're moving forward. But is this really progress? The illusion of progress is a powerful narrative that keeps us complacent, distracted by superficial changes while systemic issues persist. Let's take technology as an example. We're surrounded by incredible advancements, smartphones, AI, social media, yet these technologies often serve to isolate us, invade our privacy, and deepen societal divides. We're led to believe that technological advancement is synonymous with human progress, but are we really better off? Or are we simply more connected, yet more disconnected from what truly matters? Economic growth is another area where the illusion of progress is prevalent. Politicians and economists celebrate GDP growth as a sign of success, but what does this growth really mean? Often it's fueled by exploitation of people, of the environment, of finite resources. The benefits of this growth are concentrated in the hands of a few, while inequality widens and the planet suffers. True progress would mean not just economic growth, but also improvements in human well-being, equality, and environmental sustainability. Even in the social realm, the illusion of progress is strong. While there have been undeniable advances in civil rights, gender equality, and other areas, many of these gains are superficial or incomplete. Discrimination, inequality, and injustice still persist, often in more subtle or systemic forms. The narrative of progress can make us complacent, blinding us to the ongoing struggles that need our attention. In reality, true progress is about more than just technological advancement, economic growth, or social change. It's about moving towards a world that is more just, equitable, and sustainable. It requires us to challenge the status quo, question the narratives of progress that we're fed, and work towards a deeper, more meaningful transformation of our societies. We're taught to value independence, to strive for self-sufficiency, to be strong and self-reliant. But is true independence even possible? The myth of independence is one of the most pervasive deceptions in modern society, leading us to overlook our deep interconnectedness and interdependence. From a young age, we're encouraged to be independent, to pursue our own goals, to take care of ourselves, and to rely on no one else. This ideal of independence is celebrated in our culture, from the lone hero in movies to the self-made millionaire in business. But this narrative ignores a fundamental truth. None of us is truly independent. We all rely on others, whether we realize it or not. Think about the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the technology you use. These are all products of a complex web of interdependence. Farmers, factory workers, engineers, and countless others contribute to the creation of the goods we depend on. Even our sense of self is shaped by our relationships with others, our families, our communities, our cultures. Independence is an illusion. Interdependence is the reality. This myth of independence also has deeper implications for how we view society. It encourages individualism and competition over cooperation and community. We're led to believe that our success or failure is entirely our own doing, ignoring the broader social, economic, and environmental factors that shape our lives. This fosters a culture of blame and division, where the struggles of others are dismissed and collective action is undermined. Moreover, the myth of independence isolates us. It discourages us from seeking help, sharing resources, or building strong, supportive communities. It feeds into the capitalist narrative that each person should fend for themselves, leading to a society where loneliness and isolation are rampant. But what if we embraced interdependence instead of independence? What if we recognized that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others, and that by working together we can create a world where everyone thrives? The myth of independence keeps us isolated and divided, but by embracing our interconnectedness we can build a more compassionate, resilient, and united world. We've explored 10 sinister deceptions that control humanity's thinking, deceptions that shape our beliefs, our decisions, and our lives. These deceptions are powerful because they are subtle, ingrained into the very fabric of our societies, and often go unnoticed. But by bringing them to light, we can begin to see the world more clearly and reclaim our power. The first step to breaking free from these deceptions is awareness. Once we recognize these lies for what they are, we can start to question them, challenge them, and ultimately reject them. It's not an easy journey, and it requires us to think critically, seek out alternative perspectives, and be willing to confront uncomfortable truths. But the reward is freedom. Freedom from manipulation, fear, and control. By freeing our minds from these deceptions, we can start to live more authentically, make decisions that truly align with our values, and work towards a world that is more just, equitable, and sustainable. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And remember, always question, always seek the truth, and never stop thinking critically.